You wake up, check your phone, maybe a notification from your bank, your salary just landed. For a second, maybe two, it feels like everything is fine, like you made it through another month. You close the app, make chai, and think about what to pay first. That moment. That exact moment. That's where it starts. Not with a crash, not with a warning. Just a quiet feeling that the numbers never quite add up the way they should. And here's the strange thing. That feeling isn't new. It isn't yours alone. People have felt it before. Not just your neighbors, not just your cousins abroad, not just people in cities you'll never visit. People across different centuries, different systems, different languages have all sat in that same quiet moment, wondering why working harder never quite closes the gap. That's not a coincidence. That's a design. Let's go back. Not too far, just far enough to see the shape of the thing. Somewhere around the early 20th century, a new idea took hold. Not an evil idea, not a conspiracy. Just a practical one, born from factories, from mass production, from a world that needed people to show up at the same time, do the same task, and go home. The salary was invented, not to give people freedom, but to make their time predictable. Employers needed to know exactly how many hours they were buying and for how much. A fixed monthly number made that clean, simple, manageable. For the worker, it felt like stability, and in many ways, it was. You knew what was coming. You could plan, you could rent, you could eat. But built inside that stability was something no one said out loud. The salary was always designed to be just enough. Not enough to stop working. Not enough to walk away. Just enough to come back next month. This wasn't cruelty, it was math. If workers could save fast enough to stop working, the system loses its supply of labor. So wages, across almost every major economy in history, have stayed within a certain invisible ceiling, above desperation, below independence. That range has a name in economics. Some call it the subsistence trap. Others call it the wage floor. The name changes. The structure doesn't. Now fast forward. Your city, your job, your screen. The costs of living, rent, groceries, fuel, school fees, electricity, those have been climbing. Not dramatically, not all at once, but quietly, steadily, year after year. And salaries, they've moved too. But if you've ever sat down and actually tracked it, they haven't moved at the same speed. The gap between what things cost and what most people earn has been quietly widening for decades across most of the world, including right here. And yet the advice stays the same, like work hard, get a promotion, be loyal, upskill, hustle on the side. That advice isn't wrong exactly, but here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of that advice was written for a version of the economy that no longer fully exists. It was written when one income could buy a house, raise children, save for old age, and still leave room. That world has quietly exited. But the script it left behind, show up, work hard, wait for the raise, that script is still running. In school curriculums, in family advice, in your own internal voice telling you that you just need to try a little harder. And here's the part that no one talks about at dinner tables. The people who built the current system, not with malice, just with efficiency, understood one fundamental thing. A person focused on next month's rent doesn't have much energy left to question the structure of the month itself. Survival thinking is narrow by nature. It has to be. When the immediate is loud enough, the long-term goes quiet. This is why financial literacy was never a mandatory subject in most schools. Not because it was forbidden, because it was never prioritized. The system didn't need people who could read balance sheets and understand compounding and track asset classes. It needed people who could perform tasks reliably, pay taxes consistently, and consume enough to keep the economy circulating. That was the role. And it was never hidden. It just wasn't announced. Now, something is shifting. And this is where you have to slow down and actually look, because it isn't happening with sirens or headlines. It's happening in small, almost invisible ways. The first shift is automation. Not the science fiction version with robots walking through offices. The quiet version, software that can now handle tasks that used to require years of training. Accounting, legal drafting, customer service, basic coding, content writing, data analysis. These roles aren't disappearing overnight, but the number of humans needed to perform them is contracting, slowly, but measurably. The second shift is the geography of work. Remote work cracked open a wall that had existed for decades. The idea that your salary was determined partly by where you physically sat. That wall is still cracking. Employers in some industries are now discovering they can hire equally skilled workers from lower-cost regions at a fraction of what they'd pay locally. This is not a new phenomenon in manufacturing. It is now entering white-collar work for the first time at scale. The third shift is what's happening to money itself. Inflation, quantitative easing, currency devaluation. These are complex terms for a simple reality. The purchasing power of a fixed salary erodes over time when the supply of money expands faster than the supply of real goods and services. Your salary number might stay the same or even grow slightly, but what it buys moves in the opposite direction. This has happened in every major fiat currency in modern history. Without exception, these three shifts are not arriving separately. They are converging at the same time, which is why the feeling so many people carry right now, in that the ground is moving but no one is saying anything, is not paranoia. It is pattern recognition. So why aren't people doing something about it? This is the part that stays with you if you let it. Most people know, somewhere quietly inside, that something is off. They feel it when they look at their bank balance after a month of working. They feel it when they do the math on retirement and it doesn't work. They feel it when they see someone younger who took a strange path, who didn't follow the conventional steps, somehow arriving at a kind of freedom that the conventional path was supposed to provide, but hasn't. But there is something that holds people in place, and it isn't laziness and it isn't ignorance. It is the social cost of questioning the structure. Because if you say out loud that the salary trap is real, you are also saying something uncomfortable about the choices your parents made, the advice your teachers gave, the path your community validated. You are not just questioning an economic system. You are questioning the story your entire environment told you about how life works. And that is a deeply human thing to avoid. Identity is fragile. People protect it, so instead, most people make a quiet compromise. They work harder inside the system rather than examining the system. They optimize their position within the trap rather than looking at the trap itself. They chase the next level, senior title, slightly better salary, corner office, as evidence that the path is working. And sometimes it does work, partially, for some people, in certain windows of time, which is just enough to keep the belief alive. Here is what the zoom out looks like. Every major economic transition in history has produced a period of confusion, where the old rules still feel true, but the new rules haven't yet been named. The agricultural revolution did this. The industrial revolution did this. Each time, there was a generation caught between worlds, still using the language of the old system, trying to navigate a reality that had quietly changed shape around them. That transition period is uncomfortable, not because people are stupid or unprepared. It's uncomfortable because transitions don't announce themselves. They reveal themselves slowly, in accumulation, in the growing gap between what the old script promised and what the new reality delivers. We are inside one of those transitions right now. The salary, as the primary vehicle for financial security, is not dying dramatically. It is becoming insufficient quietly for a growing number of people. Not everyone, not all at once. But the trend line is visible if you choose to look at it rather than away from it. The people who are navigating this better, and they exist across income levels, across countries, across industries, share a particular mental shift. They stopped treating their salary as the destination and started treating it as one input among several. They began understanding the difference between income and assets, between being paid for time and building something that can exist independently of time. They started learning, not in an overwhelming way, but incrementally, had the language of how capital moves, how money can work instead of only being worked for. This isn't a secret knowledge available only to the wealthy. The information exists. What's rare is the willingness to confront the discomfort of realizing that the path you were handed may not be the only path, or even the most reliable one anymore. You don't have to blow up your life to see this. You just have to stop looking away from the feeling you already have. The one that shows up on the first of the month when your salary lands, and somehow still doesn't land the way it should. That feeling isn't weakness. That feeling isn't ingratitude. That feeling is clarity. Trying to get your attention. The system is not evil, but it was not designed for your freedom. It was designed for its own continuity. And knowing that, really knowing it, not just hearing it, changes how you move inside it. You were told the salary is security. And for a long time, in a world that no longer fully exists, it was. Now it is a starting point, a base, a floor, not a ceiling. And the sooner that distinction becomes real to you, not as an idea you read once, but as a lens through which you actually see your own life, the sooner you stop chasing something that was never designed to set you free. The trap was never hidden. You just weren't supposed to look at it this long.